So if you have a disease that it's congenital, and there is nothing out there that we haven't found that will help you to cure that disease, I think CRISPR is a viable solution for it. So this is a very simple but complicated technique where you can take either an open reading frame of a gene, and an open reading frame is what it will tell the gene or the amino acids or the bases there to start making information for a gene. So if you have an open reading frame with the right information to make a gene, that would be a great outcome. But also if there is a deletion, meaning that one of the bases that was supposed to be in a sequence is not there, you could actually add one. Wow. Okay? Or remove an excessive one. So it is a very exciting technique that I think we are just at the beginning, and it's changing everything. So when I left genetics, I wasn't there. We were not there. So when I left is because of my frustration that I was basically a diagnostician, and I wasn't giving my all or being able to just draw a family tree more than that and just say, well, good luck, go home. Just try not to get infections or try not to do this. But that's very frustrating for the person and the parents.
It seems like when I research genetics that it involves a lot of abstract concepts that are actually beyond the five senses, kind of like quantum physics.
Absolutely.
But I don't think people really understand that. Can you talk about that a little bit? And maybe this is why you're so gifted in this area, because you're talking about other skills that you have, natural gifts that are beyond the five senses. So
yes. That's one of my shticks, the senses. And I'm gonna tell you why they are so important for me. When I was a geneticist and I was doing research, I came across, and I don't know if you remember that I was the disruptor and the one with the questions, and I was sort of shut off from what I was doing because of that. I came across that I was doing an experiment and I had to just see my gene that I wasn't being expressed in the right way. So I came across that I was having more than 2 strands. And I was asking everybody, it's like, oh, you got artifacts. That's probably temperature, you didn't got the right amount of DNA, or the current where your DNA had to run through was not the right one. And I kept repeating it. And I remember I went to talk to my boss, Dr. Joni, the late Dr. Joni Uito. And I said, listen, I'm finding this. And he's like, no, but I want the protein of collagen 17. And I'm like, yeah, but I think this is interesting. I think we have 13 strands of DNA. And he looked at me very frustrated, and he said, well, our grants wants us to do something. Yes, nice you're finding that out, but how are you going to prove it? And our grants are only limited to do work with epidermolysis bullosa, collagen, and all the rest of the proteins in the extracellular matrix. So I don't think you should continue that route. But there was something in me that was telling me, this is not junk DNA. This is not just an artifact. There is something in here. And that comes with the senses now. I was born with the majority of my senses developed. Other ones I acquired while I was growing up and being aware. And I remember I was rubbing my hands and I'm like, I gotta feel this DNA. And I remember having different types of pricks in my hands, depending on where I was moving my hand in the gel. And so people who do research, they might say, well, you have an isotope there, so you're feeling radiation. Because my acute senses, I can distinguish between radiation and other types of frequencies in every living thing or static thing or inanimated thing. So that was the first time that I said, I am not crazy. I am feeling something here. And then, of course, I went back to my research, the one that I was being paid for, and I needed to study. And, you know, I have my patients that I needed to attend to. But I started to talk to them and look at them in the eyes. And I remember I had clairvoyance since a little kid, but you enter this world of science and you sort of have to tone it down because you might be criticized, and most of the people that were there, they were not aware that all of us have this sense. And I just a little bit frustrated, but I looked at my clients and I said, there must be a reason that we're not seeing why these people have this horrible disease. I was looking at them, and the first thought or the first image I saw about them, which was a little bit distracting, is that it looked like all of them committed suicide in a previous life. So that was baffling for me. And I'm like, well, this is interesting, but is it my mind making this up? But I would look at each one of them, and when I got their DNA, I could feel this information that, yes, they committed suicide. So their mission in this life was to learn to live with the body they chose, and within the skin they chose to live. And then I understood, I'm like, oh, this is a lesson